Hey, what causes people that are not as honest by a long shot as I am to believe I'm dishonest? What causes that? Well, it is, their dysfunctional minds not able to, or even motivated to, assess another person by what they demonstrate or they can prove or their references would claim are good morals and ethics and things like that. So the person that's not able to judge another person that is good is because they suffer from things. When I relocated from the National Capital Region of Canada to BC, I knew I was in a toxic environment. I knew to get away from it, and I'm not talking about drugs or alcohol or things like that. I just knew there was a lot of things wrong with not just other people, but with me. And I finally needed to settle the issue. And I talked about my journey in a document called Dear British Columbia Residents, okay, that talks about the 14 years I was on Vancouver Island. But when I arrived there, I was ready to listen to people's opinions about me that had never met me before. I mean, most were wrong, but still, it was a learning experience, and I learned a lot about myself, but I still, opened myself out there. And it's not a greater power in a religious way, but it's like I surrendered myself so that I could hit a rock bottom and rebuild myself in a way that made more sense, because before that I knew I'm a good person, but I'm being told all sorts of things like I'm lazy, and it was really about what I would eventually discover, and this would permanently cure me from deep depressions that I've suffered many times, is my theory on a variety of human domestication syndromes devolving the human species and creating various phenomena such as the one I learned about in my life skills training called incongruence that I'd never heard about before. Now, life skills training is actually, to become a life skills coach, that was actually the best cure to heal myself of all the toxicity of the culture I came from and my past traumas. And I was so surprised, as I said to many people in my 30s, that I was learning this so late, and how, I wasn't the last one to learn it. Nobody else really was learning it. And how that was so shameful. And that's why a big part of what I say a lot is I might have 3 post-secondary degrees, and if I ever get a PhD in the future, I'm pretty sure I'm still going to say that the training at a school that I paid for because of the instructor I got, and at a time of my life I was ready for it, is my life skills coach training. It's all about the concept of life skills. Now, in a way, of course, the people that are unable to assess who I am or even make the effort and not to look at themselves in the mirror and their own incongruences and their own confusion and toxicity and hatred towards others, when the only way to cure things that's happening with others is to cure ourselves. Now, for me, I made a lot of friends. I would recommend these people, let's say, go to a community of people, let's say you hate, like if you hate white people and you're a First Nations, then go to a community of only white people. I've never even met a First Nations or Indigenous person when I lived in the National Capital Region, Quebec side or Ottawa side. Not that I remember. I mean, I love that show, Northern Exposure, but now, Northern Exposure motivated me to, give people of Indigenous descent another chance, even though they've caused a lot of traumas in my life as an innocent victim. I never did anything to them. And but now, these final experiences of this weekend is I mean, when it comes to children, I'll give them a chance, but when it comes to adults, they would have to say specific key arguments to win my trust at this time. And it's not that I would treat them badly, as if they've proven that they're not trustworthy. If I meet Indigenous or First Nation strangers, I still have the objectivity to judge a person individually, even though I know cultural patterns that are sometimes common at 99% of that culture, 80% of that culture, 40% of that culture, whatever it is, right? It's important to know this when I become the kind of scientist that I have in the social sciences, and my own triggers. And you know a lot about your own triggers when you take that training, because you need to have mastered what they are before you can become a coach. And again, I'm the only guy that passed that course. The other First Nations man didn't, although he was really nice. He didn't make enough progress. and the other ladies that were, let's say, First Nations that I knew about later, they regressed in their personal development. And they didn't realize how that course actually was impactful. You have to be able to say how it is. Even if you take a course after that that's 1 or 2 years instead of 2 months, I'm able to say, like I did with my, master's or bachelor's or CEGEP, that 2-month full-time of life skills coaching is worth more than them put together, really. When it comes to self-actualization of a human, for example. Okay. Now, what I wanted to say is, it's kind of sad, I think, that people that are in charge, there might be more than one, have such toxicity, and they feel justified to have it against a stranger, that they judge unfairly and victimize unfairly, and they don't realize how that's harming them and the community that they've convinced themselves they're protecting what is essentially their assumptions from. It's very, very toxic. And, I can only help those that are ready to receive help. Like, again, I know the concept of counseling. I've been trained a lot, and I know that as much as people show up for that, you can tell sometimes that even if it's voluntarily, that, this is the amount of progress that they're ready for right now, or sometimes they're ready to push through this wall or this wall or this wall. And I made a lot of progress in the 14 years I was on Vancouver Island, and when I did, all the friends that I made in First Nations communities, non-First Nations communities, Filipino communities, locals of BC, is as I continued my personal development and self-actualization towards, what I realize is what my DNA's potential was to become fully Homo sapien, as defined by walking the talk of the definition of sentience and sapience. And again, people might say, well, that kind of looks weird that you're doing... Well, I have to, for example, post these intense, transparent videos because the norm has not undergone this type of maturation itself. Now, if we had all done that, then, this would be probably a planet that's not in the process of devolving right now because of us, the Anthropocene. It'd be maybe, maybe not at the level in the movie Avatars, but that's healthier communities as compared to us. So in the movie Avatar, people don't need to act in the way that I do in a disagreement because the others have enough progress that they've made in their lives that, that they can actually have conversations, meet in person for these conversations, learn how to, use the skills that can be learned to evaluate a person, and even if they're not sure, to actually create scenarios where that person is on probation. But again, if they don't even reach these levels, there's great toxicity. And there's plenty of people like that. But what's worse all around the world today in every culture is that's more and more the people that are rising to leadership roles. Whether in politics or in religions or in, business world. And this, again, because it includes all types of varieties of human domestication syndromes that has devolved us as a species.